For as long as I can remember, the Jacksonville Jaguars have felt like a rudderless organization built on enthusiasm, hope, and, well, the appeal of good weather and low state income taxes. But what do they have to show for it? 4 playoff appearances in 25 years? At least 2017 was fun. No thanks to Blake Bortles. But sadly, that legendary Saxonville defense faded away in the blink of an eye, which meant it was straight back to the status quo of losing games in North Florida. But more hope was on the way, as they thought everything would change when they landed their prince that was promised, golden-armed quarterback Trevor Lawrence. But the added expectations only seemed to make matters worse. Or maybe it was just Urban Meyer kicking his own players on his way to becoming one of the fastest NFL coaches to ever be fired that did that. It can be hard to keep track sometimes. But even in 2022, Doug Peterson teased us all into thinking he was bringing some stability to Jacksonville. But all a playoff win against Brandon Staley's Chargers team that year did was buy Peterson and Trent Baalke, the worst GM in the league, a longer leash than they deserved. So after 6 regime changes in 15 years, what had this organization shown us to make us believe that things would be different here in 2025? Liam Cohen seemed like a rational hire, but the 39-year-old had only called plays in the NFL for 1 season in Tampa before having mixed results with Will Levis at Kentucky before that. Trent Baalke obviously had to go, but was young gun James Gladstone going to be the answer to fixing a front office that had wasted almost every first-round pick they've made for the last 15 years? Their new defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanile, was certainly an interesting candidate, but rather unknown after spending just 5 years as a position coach in the NFL in Green Bay and Miami before that. And beyond the staffing, Trevor Lawrence and his inconsistent play over the last few years only added to the questions of just how good this Jags team could be this year. Not to mention, this crew went all in, investing the equivalent of 3 first-round picks on making Travis Hunter something the league has never seen before, to play both ways and be the Shohei Ohtani of football. Now, there was nothing wrong with this youth movement approach. Many teams have had success around the league betting on younger, more forward-thinking minds to run their organization. But to say this young staff in a Jags organization that seemingly never gets things right had a lot to prove heading into this year would be putting it lightly. Yet, just under a third of the way through this season, this feels like the most competent, dare I say, complete Jaguars team that I've ever seen. And while yes, it is still early in the season, in today's video, I want to go through all of the reasons why the Jags have surprised this year and why they might finally be here to stay. Hopefully. Maybe. But before we do get started here, if you could do me a huge, quick favor, hit that like button down below. It really does help me out. It tells other NFL fans to check out the video, which I would really appreciate. And of course, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of my other NFL content. So while people's minds will first go towards the faces of this Jags franchise, namely Trevor Lawrence and now Travis Hunter, the first thing that has actually surprised me with this Jags team that I want to talk about first is their defense. In 2025, the Jags rank 6th in defensive EPA per play. They're 8th in points allowed. They've won 2 games, holding opponents to just 10 points, and had impressive defensive moments in wins against the 49ers, where they did hold them to 21 points, as well as getting that signature pick 6 against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football on their way to secure a big win there too. While the defense hasn't been perfect, their success is a massive exodus from their 31st ranked defense last year. And while they did sneak just into the top 10 in defense in 2023, they ranked 23rd, 31st, 30th, and 28th in each respective season going back to 2019. seeing good defense just hasn't been the brand of football that we've been able to expect from the Jags for quite some time, really going back to that Saxonville defense in 2018. And what's fascinating is while this team did make some minor additions to the defense, such as safety Eric Murray and slot cornerback Jordan Lewis, these were largely considered relative Band-Aid veteran signings compared to the large spendings we can see some teams make in free agency to fix their issues. And their one quote-unquote major addition, in theory, was Travis Hunter through the draft, but expectations for his usage and immediate impact were meant to at least be slightly tempered out the gate, as still here in week 5 and through the preseason, he's actually not listed as a starter for their defense. So without a ton of change, what did change with this Jags defense? Well, first of all, the Jags did what any smart NFL team should do when they start having issues: hire an Italian. I'd like you to meet the man of the hour, Anthony Campanile, the new Jags defensive coordinator. And the results speak for themselves to tell you that Campanile's doing a good job here. But when you look at his brief coaching resume in the NFL, it isn't a surprise to see why the schematic changes he's making are leading to results here in Jacksonville. Campanile only coached in the NFL for 5 years, was in college before that. But in that time, he's been fortunate enough to work for two of the most prominent minds in the entire league under Brian Flores and Vic Fangio in Miami. On top of this, in Green Bay, he joined forces with Jeff Hafley, who stems from the Robert Saleh coaching tree, which is another prominent defensive scheme having success around the NFL today. And now with Campanile's first gig as a defensive coordinator, it's really fun to look at the defense he's running here in Jacksonville and see how he's explicitly handpicked his favorite aspects of each of these different battle-tested systems and melded them into his own defense in Jacksonville. You see the Brian Flores aggressive, blitz-heavy nature show up in how often the Jags are blitzing this year. Campanile has taken the Jags from 32nd with a blitz rate of 9.6% last year and doubled it to 18.6% this year, which ranks 12th in the NFL. And this is a serious departure as well from both Fangio and Jeff Hafley's defenses, which have both been near the bottom of the league in blitz rate over the last 2 seasons. But then you see the Vic Fangio influence show up in Campanile's coverage structures here in Jacksonville. While the Hafley-Saleh system that Campanile learned in Green Bay has many similarities to that sort of two-shell, split safety, Vic Fangio-style defense, the Jags' coverage rates this season much closer resemble what Vic Fangio likes to run in Philadelphia, with a larger focus on cover 4 and cover 1 man-to-man, as opposed to Green Bay, who actually ran a lot more cover 2 and hardly ran man-to-man in 2024, though Green Bay, to be fair, has run more man this season. But lastly, you also see the Jeff Hafley, Robert Saleh influence in the structure of the Jaguars' defensive fronts. Brian Flores runs that 3-4 Belichickian style front, and Vic Fangio as well typically bases his defense out of a 3-4 style front, but Campanile has elected to stick with more of the 4-3 style front that was ran in Green Bay. I think it's awesome to see Campanile taking some of the best features of all of these great defenses and really melding them into his own system here in Jacksonville. And even better, it's keeping offenses on their toes and leading to early results, as it doesn't look like a lot of the cookie-cutter defensive schemes that get permeated throughout the league. Before I do go any further, though, I do want to thank the sponsor for today's video, Underdog Fantasy. You guys, Boostober is here, making it the best time to get started over at Underdog. You can get unlimited profit boost tokens of 30% on every pick'em lineup you want to make. My favorite way to utilize that is you take your favorite player stat options and you can actually flex them down so they become more likely to get to those numbers. and then that 30% profit boost will make up that ground. We are in the heat of the battle with this NFL season, and underdog pick'em contests keep you glued to your seat for every NFL match with your chance at massive cash prizes through their pick'em contests. And beyond the Boosttober promotion, Underdog is also offering right now a $100 bonus match when you sign up using code TFG and play at least $5. There's no guarantee that they stick around with that offer. It's as good as it gets. So if you've been thinking about playing on Underdog Fantasy, now is the time. Good luck, please play responsibly, and let's get back to the Jaguars. But it isn't just the coaching and the scheme leading to results here. A lot of these players have been stepping up big time and deserve their credit. And to all three levels of the defense, too. On the D-line, Trayvon Walker continues to make improvements every single year. Granted, he's mostly eaten against bad offensive lines in Cincinnati and Houston, where 12 of his 14 pressures have come from. His pressure rate is up 14% from where it was last season. And above all, he's firmly reached his potential as one of the league's best edge-setting run defenders in the game today. Then there's Eric Armstead, now almost 32 years old. He might not be quite what he used to be, but he has shown up every week, and with Campanile letting him play where he belongs as an interior rusher, as opposed to last year where the staff, for some reason, largely stuck him as an edge player, he's already surpassed his sack total from all of last season, and he's already got half the amount of pressures he had from last season in just 5 games here. But most importantly, Josh Hines Allen, after the previous regime asked him to put on about 20 pounds for some godforsaken reason, he's gotten back to his regular playing weight, and he's returned straight back to form as a premium edge rusher after a very down year last year. Hines Allen currently ranks 5th in pressures and 6th in pass rush win rate, according to PFF, and he's wrecking offenses just like he once did just an extra year ago. But then you can go to the second level of the defense, where 2022 first-round pick Devin Lloyd is having a breakout season with 4 interceptions in just 5 games, showing up all over the field. His pick 6 against Mahomes on Monday Night Football especially will go down as one of the standout moments of this season if the Jags keep winning. And this play was also the perfect example of how Campanile is keeping teams guessing with the scheme, as Lloyd dropped out of a mugged-up pre-snap blitz look and then dropped into coverage and cut off the throw from the backside. Scheme and player working together there. Their other starting linebacker, Foye Oluokun, has also gotten off to a great start. Flying around the field, he's already forced 2 fumbles and looks fantastic. Granted, his perennially increasing missed tackle rate does now sit at 14%, and that's been a bit of a detractor towards their run defense. And Devin Lloyd as well is sitting at the highest missed tackle rate since his rookie season, also at 14%, after being one of the most consistent tacklers in the league last year. While this isn't ideal, it's certainly something to keep an eye on, as it does feel like some regression to the mean for one of, if not both of these guys could be coming, which would obviously only help their defense even further. And then on the back end, the Jags secondary, which had major concerns coming in, is also hitting some green lights as well. And this is, to me, where James Gladstone, the new GM, deserves a lot of credit, because a pair of relatively minor signings in Jordan Lewis and Eric Murray have been fantastic on the back end. Murray, who ran a lot of the same coverage lingo in D'Amico Ryan's system in Houston, which is also a part of that Robert Saleh coaching tree, Murray has looked extremely comfortable on the back end, cutting off routes from quarters and rallying to the ball as a run defender and finishing plays as a tackler. And Jordan Lewis has been nothing short of spectacular. Allowing just a 61% reception percentage might not sound like too much, but that's an outstanding number to be at for a guy who's primarily playing from the slot. And on top of that, he's averaging 1 pass defended per week. Again, maybe doesn't sound like much, but to put that in perspective, only Drew Phillips and Quentin Lake have registered more passes defended this season, and only the league leader last year, Denzel Ward, finished with more than one pass defended per game. That's the type of territory that Jordan Lewis is in right now. But to make things even more exciting, this has all been with pretty minor contributions from Travis Hunter as a cornerback, the guy that is arguably the largest investment and addition for their defense. But in my opinion, Hunter just recently in week 5 is coming off his best game against the Chiefs, where he allowed just one catch for 7 yards on 3 targets against Kansas City. So they might be starting to get more from Travis Hunter there. And then additionally, their top paid cornerback, Tyson Campbell, has legitimately struggled this season. Not to pile on him, but allowing 312 yards and 3 touchdowns in just 5 games is about as bad as it gets at the position. So what did the Jags do about it? They flipped him for Greg Newsome from Cleveland, who, yes, they'll have to pay here pretty soon, but he has looked fantastic for the Browns now that they finally moved him back to outside corner, where I've been kind of crying for the Browns to put him there for years. So, man, not only have the Jags already impressed at all 3 levels of their defense, but with Trayvon Walker hopefully getting back healthy soon, these linebackers due for some positive regression perhaps with missed tackles, and mostly in the secondary now hopefully upgrading with Greg Newsome and seeing even more from Travis Hunter moving forward. This could only just be the beginning of good things for the Jags defense this year. Now, I know we're pretty far into this video before even mentioning the Jags offense, but it is time we take a look at them on that side of the ball. And to be honest, the Jags have been a bit one-sided so far this season in regards to their offense. While they're perfectly average as an overall offense, ranking 16th in both offensive DVOA and EPA per play, they've been much more polarizing if you look at their splits run versus pass. They're actually 5th in the NFL in rushing yards per game, 7th in rushing EPA per play, yet through the air, they rank 21st in both categories. Obviously, this type of success running the ball can go a long way, so I wanted to take a look at what is working so well for them on the ground, and then we can come back and discuss their passing attack as well. In each of the last 3 seasons, the Jaguars have ranked 17th, 26th, and 22nd as a rushing offense, so it's certainly come as a surprise to see this surge as a top 5 or 6 ground attack this season. Especially considering here as well, they didn't really make any huge splashes this offseason to get noticeably better at it. Yes, they added some cost-controlled veterans along the offensive line, Robert Hainsey and Patrick McCarry, but they also said goodbye to Brandon Sheriff and Mitch Morse from last year. As far as through the draft, a pair of mid-round picks in guard Wyatt Milam and running back Byshel Tootin, while fun prospects and good values, aren't the type of additions you'd expect to transform the run game overnight, especially after 3 straight mediocre years of pounding the rock. But this is especially where GM James Gladstone and head coach Liam Cohen deserve so much credit. And also, by the way, where my criticism of Doug Peterson's run game over the last few years really shined through. But with just a few budgeted personnel changes and a coach who actually knows how to coach and draw up the run game, we've seen this spike in the Jags' ability to run the football. And their blocking success is a huge reason why. So far in 2025, the Jags rank 8th in PFF team run blocking grade. And Travis Etienne ranks 1st in the NFL in yards before contact at a whopping 2.35 yards. Both the change and coaching and the adjustments they made with this offensive line have been everything you could have asked for as a Jags fan, especially given with the O-line that they didn't invest that much in it. In previous seasons, I've been on this channel criticizing Doug Peterson for getting too cute and overcomplicating his run game with complex run schemes that make things harder on the blockers and the running back to read things out correctly. Meanwhile, Liam Cohen has come in and installed what feels like a much more classic, easy to understand, balanced run game with a lot of zone blocking schemes and basic gap concepts that are familiar to these offensive linemen and the running backs. And the synergy with this offensive line is working unlike we've seen it for some time in Jacksonville. And as a cherry on top, I'd also be remiss if I didn't sneak in a shout out to Brenton Strange, who's developed into a really nice two-way tight end for this team. Seriously, one of the underrated players in the league today. And he's given them more of a blocking impact at the position that Evan Ingram, who they moved on from at that spot, didn't. But to me, it isn't just the blocking and the run game coaching that have impressed. After a couple of down seasons, Trevor Etienne feels back from the dead. He currently sits 4th in the NFL in rushing yards, and he's not just showing off that game-changing breakaway run ability with long runs of 71, 48, and 30 yards already this year, but he's running with toughness. He ranks 13th in average yards after contact, and he's 16th in the NFL in missed tackles forced. Health has been something that's held Etienne back in recent seasons, but he looks all the way back into the form that once got him drafted in the first round, and he could be due for a large payday here in Jacksonville, playing on that final year of his rookie deal. But it isn't just Etienne. Rookie 4th-round pick Byshell Tootin has looked the part as a complement to Etienne. Now, his numbers won't blow you away with just 98 yards on 25 carries this year, but he is 12th in missed tackles forced rate among all NFL running backs at 24%, and he hasn't quite gotten the same open lanes that Travis Etienne has from the run blocking. Where Etienne ranked 1st in yards before contact, Tootin, for one reason or another, ranks 35th in yards before contact among NFL running backs, with most of his runs getting stopped before they really ever got started. But for whatever it's worth to you, he absolutely passes the eye test to me. He's taking advantage of the few well-blocked runs he has gotten, but mostly in grinding out some tough extra yards in the ground game that you wouldn't expect as well. And in some of his looks as a pass catcher on screens and returning kicks, you can really see the juice that this rookie has. And I've even gone as far as saying he's given me at least some shades of what Bucky Irving was able to do for Liam Cohen in Tampa last year. Now, as we've discussed and as we know, a top 10 defense and a top 10 run game can take you pretty far in this league, but at the end of the day, it's still a passing league, and the Jags have been much more inconsistent throwing the football this year. Again, ranking as about the 21st best passing attack in whatever metrics you want to look at. So I took a deep dive into all 189 of Trevor Lawrence's dropbacks this year to see what's really going on and to see if we can kind of expect a continuation of their relative struggles in the passing game, or maybe if there's some signs that things can improve here, in which case, if they do, I mean, with everything we've already said about the run game and the defense, the Jags could emerge as legitimate Super Bowl contenders this year if they can throw the football a little bit better and more consistently. And I'll be honest, there are some issues in this passing game, but as someone that has become pretty hard on Trevor Lawrence over the last few years, I walked away really impressed with how he's playing within this Liam Cohen offense, and I'd be a little bit surprised if they do stay ranked in the 20s as a passing offense for much longer here. Considering Trevor's only been running this system for 5 weeks, his comfort level as far as making quick and correct reads to get the ball out on time and for the most part with accuracy and anticipation has been largely good. There are already countless examples of him hitting the top of his drop, planting that back foot, and showing off his outstanding arm talent to rip that deep out or a dig over the middle of the field. He's also managing pressure and extending plays with his feet, as well as I've maybe ever seen from him. Not really understanding when and how to use his legs is something I've been a bit critical of Trevor Lawrence on over the last few years, but in 5 games of dropbacks, again, 189 plays, there were maybe 2 or 3 times where I wished he either took off sooner or stayed in the pocket longer. It was refreshing to see what I saw from Trevor Lawrence as far as his overall pocket presence and feel against the rush. Now, I don't want to oversell Lawrence either here. I think he is playing much better than his stat line would indicate, but ultimately what has always held Trevor Lawrence back has been nothing short of just plain inconsistency. For years, we've seen him go on a heater, whether that be 2 drives, a few quarters, a few games even, but it's always felt like that key mistake has been waiting in his back pocket, ready to strike at any given moment. And that's largely still been the case this season. Unfortunately, every week outside of this most recent game against the Chiefs, there's been some egregious error from Trevor that fortunately hasn't been enough to hold this team back from going 4-1, but has hurt his team. Week 1, when things were going well, he just heaves a pick into double coverage, trying to get Travis Hunter involved. Week 2, early in the Bengals game, he lobs the ball up for an easy interception at the goal line after his left tackle got beat. There's a blind throw into a swarm of defenders week 3 against the Texans, right in the heat of that game. And week 4, he got away with an interception trying to make a play in scramble drill, and he gets totally bailed out by a pretty soft holding call on the defense that honestly had nothing to do with his decision. You guys are smart football fans, and you don't need me to tell you that you can't be turning the football over at this rate and expect a high level of success. And right now, his turnover-worthy play rate does sit 26th among 38 eligible QBs. Not good enough. But beyond these key turnover-worthy play mistakes, we've also seen a continuation of his accuracy issues that have followed him throughout his career. Granted, he was very accurate in his last 2 starts against the Niners and the Chiefs, and there has been a lot of talk throughout the offseason of him reworking his footwork and hopefully improving his accuracy issues, so we'll see, and of course we'll continue to monitor if he can get better with his accuracy. But there were several scattered misfires in his first 3 weeks that did leave some meat on the bones of this passing game. And given his history of misfires, I think it is fair to expect those to show up from time to time, especially when he's pushing the ball deeper down the field. Ultimately, there's no denying that his decision-making, paired with some of his accuracy issues, especially earlier in the season, are contributing towards the Jags having this mediocre pass game ranking as a team. And if we don't see improvement in his accuracy, as we maybe have these last 2 weeks, or in his propensity to make head-scratching mistakes seemingly every week, it will be hard to fully trust the Jags as a Super Bowl contender. But I do want to stress that, in general, I walked away much more encouraged by Trevor's down-to-down play, and at least in recent weeks, we have seen him play his best ball and eliminate these mistakes, for the most part. And if the Niners and Chiefs game are an indication of what's to come, the Jags could really be in business here. But it's also not just Trevor. As we know, a passing game isn't just all about the quarterback. And there are other factors with this passing game that could be telling us are only going to get better moving forward. And the number one factor is obvious. It's the Heisman-winning superstar that this team spent the equivalent of 3 first-round picks on to acquire, yet for some reason for the first 3 weeks of the season seemed to forget so much of what made Travis Hunter so special. For the first 3 games of the season, Travis Hunter saw 14 targets with an average depth of target of 6.5 yards and 0 targets of 20-plus yards. But in each of the last 2 games, Hunter has at least received 1 deep target and has converted both of those looks for 72 yards and a PFF receiving grade of 97.8 on those plays. Both catches have come in a big spot and have shown off his rare ball skills and ability to contort for the catch. If you read any scouting report on Hunter coming out, I can guarantee you will hear outstanding praise of his ball skills, and likely that those ball skills are his signature standout trait. And if Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence are smart, this will hopefully be just the beginning of using Hunter down the field as opposed to just throwing him screens and quick passes underneath as they did in the first 3 weeks. It's also worth noting that there have been some early miscommunication issues between Trevor and Travis that I fully expect to get cleaned up with more time together and knowing that Hunter has his hands full learning both sides of the ball. Essentially, we could be right on the cusp of that Travis Hunter explosion into the league that we've been waiting for. And lastly, there's one more very simple but very real factor holding this passing game back right now: drops. Friend of the channel, James Foster, shared out a fun post listing the leaders in each different incompletion type, and it's not a surprise after watching the Jags tape that Trevor Lawrence is the league leader in drops by his wide receivers, with a whopping 14 drops in just 5 games. And this will be a big thing to monitor moving forward. You'd think this is a fixable issue, and hopefully it will be, but Brian Thomas especially has regressed substantially this year from his rookie season. In 2024, Thomas had an acceptable drop rate of 6.5%, but that's skyrocketed to 15.8% this year. And it isn't just the drops. His contested catch win rate has also plummeted from 50% last year to 27% this season, already just 3 for 11 on contested catch looks. I liked Thomas coming out a lot, but his detractors and even myself had noted that his ball skills are not his strongest trait. Now, he himself has also been much better in these last 2 weeks against the Niners and against the Chiefs, including a clutch over-the-shoulder catch to help the Jags secure that win against the Chiefs. So between that and what we saw from him as a rookie, there's hope that he's maybe shaken off his early season woes. But if his hands become a recurring issue, that would certainly be a disappointment given his expectations for this season. Only time will tell on that one. But Brian Thomas only makes up 3 of the team's 14 drops. 7 players on this team have a drop rate of 10% or more this season. And the only starter without that mark is Brenton Strange, who just went on the short-term IR. It's easy and convenient for fans to bang on the quarterback for all of the offense's issues, but no team is hurting themselves by just not catching the football more than the Jags this season. Fortunately, this is theoretically a very correctable issue that, if nothing else, is due for some regression back to the mean. But sometimes teams can't find a way to fix their problems, and we see problems like this persist. So again, only time will tell there. Overall, though, I walked away quite encouraged by the overall operation of the Jags passing game, and frankly, I expect them to climb up the charts as a passing attack moving forward. I think Trevor is seeing the field well and playing confident within this offense. I believe in the talent of these pass catchers to play better moving forward. And I hardly even mentioned it, but the play calling from Liam Cohen has been fantastic to me. And the offensive line is also playing extremely well as a pass blocking unit, just as we praise them as run blockers. So well that in 5 games of tape, outside of a few big moments from Danielle Hunter in that Texans game, you hardly even had to think about the offensive line, and that's about as good of a compliment as you can give an O-line at times. And for whatever stock you want to put into this, they rank 2nd in Team PFF pass blocking rank this season, and again, I do think that shows on film. So with the Jags passing game on paper being their biggest weakness right now, I really think they're set up well to get even better in that phase, and if they do, with a good run game, an impressive defense, and a coaching staff doing an outstanding job on both sides of the ball, Jacksonville should be in a prime position to prove that this 4-1 start isn't just a blip and a cute little start for a surprising team. Rather, Duval might be here to make some serious noise in the AFC this season. But that is all we have here today. If you enjoyed the video, I do ask, please take just a second to hit that like button. And of course, make sure you're subscribed. Also, let me know in the comments down below, what other narratives from this season would you like to see similar types of videos on? And Jags fans, I hope you enjoyed. I hope I didn't just curse your team into oblivion as I tend to do when I make a video on a player or a team. So Fingers crossed there. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.